Hey guys, for this episode of VEDA, I am going to talk about how my husband and I met and eventually got married because it is, I guess an interesting story to some people. So we met in high school. We were high school sweethearts. He is exactly 9 months or I'm 9 months and 6 days younger than he is. So I'm like an entire pregnancy younger than him. But he is a grade higher than me in school. Well, not anymore because I went to college and he hasn't gone yet, but he will. But in high school, he was a grade older. He was in my sister's grade. And he's like halfway between me and my sister. So, anyway, when we met is it was my first week of high school. I was in ninth grade at high school. It was 4 grades. And, so I was starting high school, I was all nervous, and I got lost because it was a huge school, because it's a 2-story school and everything. So it was very, very early in the school year, like the first week or two of school, and I was walking upstairs to go to my English class, and this guy walked down the hall. And of course it was Ben. And he did stand out, but I mean, he was a pretty unassuming teen. I mean, he had brown hair that was about like this long, and then like longer as it went down. He had longer hair than he does now, and like acne on his face, and like his skin was pretty tan. But the thing that like I really noticed about him is he had those big glasses, like those big, like they're not in style anymore. You know what I'm talking about, I hope. Like the really big glasses with the big bar across the top. And I noticed that because, usually people that wear that are like nerdy and just like not, people don't find them all that attractive. They don't like that kind of glasses. But I remember, like, he walked by and I like did a double take and I was just like, whoa, that guy rocks those glasses. He makes those glasses look good. And I was just, like, really impressed by that. And I, like, looked. I was like, whoa, look at that guy. And those glasses. And he was wearing, like, a gamer shirt. He was pretty unassuming otherwise. Just a little skinny, dorky kid. And I noticed him. And I kept seeing him everywhere. He had a girlfriend at the time. And they would sit like against the wall upstairs with their arm around each other and just like sit like during lunch and breaks and stuff. And I was just like, man, I'm jealous. Like I like this guy kind of. I don't know exactly who he is, but I just always noticed him. I saw him everywhere. And then I found out that he was in band, which was really exciting to me. At my high school, the 9th grade band is separate from 10th, 11th, and 12th grade band because there's like enough people to have a separate 9th grade band. So he was in a different band. He was in marching band already, and I wasn't because we don't march 9th graders at my high school. I think we do now, but not when I was there. So this was back in '03 also. So this was over 10 years ago. Wow, it's been a long time. So, I found out that he was in band, and I also found out his name. I have no idea how I don't remember how I found out his name, but I found out his name was Ben, and then I found his last name, of course. And I was just like, that guy is so cool. This Ben guy is awesome. Like, he was just a really quirky, nerdy, hyper weird guy. Like, he just was different. And I liked that about him. And so I always just kind of had a crush on him, but he had a girlfriend, so I didn't, like, bother really getting, like, too head over heels in love with him because he had a girlfriend, and I didn't think I would ever end up, like, dating him or anything. So, so it's now a year later, and I am a sophomore. My best friend at the time was a senior. Her name was Rebecca. And I'm always friends with the outcasts, and Rebecca was an amazing person. Definitely a kind of person that, it took a special person to really be friends with her, just because she was very, very loud, very out there. It took a very special kind of person to, like, really be compatible with that, and I was. And I thought she was an amazing person. She I think she's a very beautiful person, to be honest. And but we were very good friends. We just clicked. We were in PE together, and we were just instantly just became, once we started talking to each other, we just instantly became really close. And when I was a sophomore, I dated this guy. I really did regret it, but it didn't work out. I dated this guy for 2 months, and Rebecca was a very interesting person. She had a crush on this guy in our PE class, and she was kind of obsessed and would always like come up with all these things. And like he was gone one day, so she's like, "Oh no, what if he, just really elaborate fantasy stories. Like, what if he's not here because he did this and this and this happened?" And I'm just like, okay. And then me and the guy I was dating broke up because it was just totally everything was wrong about the relationship. So we broke up, and she was really sad. I was not sad at all. I was really relieved, but she was like crying about it, and she was just really upset that like I didn't find my man or whatever. And I was just like, whatever. And then it was a new semester, or like, yeah, like the semester starts in the middle of January at my high school, so not after winter break. But so the semester ended. We weren't in class anymore. But she really wanted to do tennis, and I was like, "Heck, I'll do tennis with you. Tennis is fun." So we decided we were gonna join the junior varsity tennis team just for fun, not for competition or anything, certainly. And so we decided to be doubles partners and sign up for tennis. So we did. And it turns out that Ben and his best friend Chris happened to do the same thing. So they were doubles partners, and they decided to play tennis too, which is funny because Ben never did any sort of sport other than marching band ever again. So I was like, oh, sweet, it's Ben. And that's where I really got to know Ben. Like, I knew him a little bit in band, and like, because by then we were in the same band. He played the French horn, by the way. And so I would see him every day, and like, I really had a crush on him, of course, by that point. And so as the year went on, like as tennis started that spring, I would talk to him and like hang out with him. And it turns out that he actually really didn't like me. He actually only pretended to listen to what I had to say. He didn't actually listen to me when I talked to him. I did a really terrible first impression on him. He didn't like girls like me that were just like annoying and just uninteresting and, whatever, teens basically. So he was like, whatever. But I was like really drawn to him, and I just like kept trying to talk to him, and so he would humor me by talking to me, but I found out later he actually wasn't really paying attention, but he paid attention enough to like make me feel like he cared. So I really liked that. And so we did tennis together, and I ended up playing against him sometimes. We just hang out and talk while we waited for our turn. And I met his mom. Like his mom, there's a high school close to his house, and so she walked, like, because she knew that we were going to be having matches over there, so she actually walked over there and said hi. So I got to meet his mom, and his mom was like the sweetest lady ever, still is. Now she's my mother-in-law, but I didn't know it at the time. So she was just a really, really nice lady. I really loved hanging out with her. I enjoyed her company also. And I was like, Ben, your mom is so cool. And then as I learned his siblings' names, I found out he was the oldest of 9 kids, and I was like, that's so cool, because I've always wanted a big family. And then I found out their names, and some of them have pretty, like, unique names. Not, like, made-up unique, but they have names that are really uncommon. And so I just was so excited to find out, like, what all his siblings' names were, and I was so excited to meet them all. So I met some of them. I met his youngest sister, who was, like, 2 at the time, running around, a little toddler. Now she's 11. So anyway, he found out that I liked him because he overheard me say, I have a crush on Ben, and I was so embarrassed that I didn't think he heard me. I remember saying that. I was walking with Rebecca, like, to my car so I could take her home, and I was like, I have a crush on Ben. And so later I was like, Ben, how'd you know I liked you? He's like, because I heard you say that. And I was like, fail. So then that year ended, and, like, around that time, like, during that spring, he broke up with his girlfriend. Like, it just wasn't working out because, high school relationships is a time of, like, just finding out what you're comfortable with, not really, like, long-term. So they broke up. They got back together and broke up again. It just didn't work out, and it just wasn't working out. So when that year ended, he was single. And then it was the summer of '05. Yeah, so the end of my sophomore year and the end of his junior year. So then 2005 school year started. So I was a junior, I was 16, and Ben was a senior, he was 17. And he, like a couple months into the school year, he needed a homecoming date because he was single. He wasn't dating his girlfriend anymore. And we would hang out together at lunch in the band room. Like, all the band nerds ate lunch in the band room. And of course, I was a band nerd, so I ate lunch in the band room. And so did he. And so I would just talk to him, hang out with him in the band room. And whether he liked it or not, I really don't know. But I really missed him over the summer, and I was really excited to see him. And so I just loved hanging out with him at lunch. And I figured we were friends, I guess. And he needed a date to homecoming. And so when he was in his 0-hour English class, I think it was, like, half of the band took 0 hour because band was like an extra elective. And so, like, half of his class was people in band, because there were a lot of band kids that were the '06 class. And he was like, hey guys, I need a date to homecoming. Who do you suggest I go with? And they started throwing out suggestions, and after like 4 or 5 names, my name came up. And he was like, oh yeah, she likes me. And so he asked me to homecoming. And the only reason he asked me to homecoming is because he knew I would say yes, because he knew I had a crush on him. And it was really funny because one of my I dated a guy when I was in 7th and 8th grade, but then we broke up, but we would still remain friends. And we almost hooked back up in 9th grade, but we didn't. But anyway, he had a friend that he introduced me to, and so we were sort of friends. And this guy asked me out, or asked me to homecoming. And I really didn't want to go to homecoming. I hate dances. I hate school dances. I'm an introvert. I do not like social parties. I don't like it at all. So I didn't want to go. And so he asked me to homecoming, and I said, I don't think I really want to go. I was honest with him. I said, I don't want to go. And so I turned him down, but not because I was rejecting him. I turned him down because I just didn't want to go to homecoming. So then one day at lunch, I was hanging out with Ben. We were just playing around, goofing around, whatever, and he untied my shoe. Because he just does things like that. And I was like, what are you doing? Tie my shoe. And so he tied a piece of paper into my shoe. And I looked at it, and I was like, what's this? And so I looked at it, and it was taped in a circle, and it said, with Ben to homecoming you are going. Like, he just wrote that out on the outside. And I looked at it, and at first I thought it was just like a piece of trash that he picked up off the floor, so I didn't even think it was for me. And I was like reading it, and I knew what it said, and I was just like, wait a minute, is this for me? And he was like, yeah. I was like, are you seriously asking me to homecoming? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, somebody already asked me, but I didn't tell him yes because I didn't want to go, but I want to go with you. And so, of course, because it was with him, and I was so excited. I was like, I cannot believe this is coming true. Like, the guy I have a crush on, actually, I get to go to a dance with him. I was so excited. So I told the truth to the other guy. I told the other guy, I said, I'm not going to homecoming with you. And he was like, why not? And I said, because someone already asked me. And he was like, oh, okay. Who was it? So I told him who it was. I was honest with him. And he was sad, and I felt bad, but whatever. But the good news is the person that he ended up asking that went to homecoming with him, they ended up dating for 5 years, so it was a good thing. So anyway, I went to homecoming with Ben, and it was amazing, and I was just the whole day there were little dates planned. It was a double date, me, him, and then this guy, and then this girl that I didn't particularly care for, but I don't hate them or anything, but I just wasn't their friend or anything like that. But we did a double date, and Ben is a huge troll. He still is. He's a troll dad, and he is just a big troll. So he kept trolling this poor other guy who was a real doormat kind of guy. So it was really awkward, but we had as much fun as awkward high schoolers can during our little daytime date. We went to the park and did stuff. So then that night was the dance, and it was October 1st, 2005, and that week in my city, it rained the whole week. That doesn't happen very often where I live. It doesn't rain straight. It does in spring, but even still, this was fall. It rained so much that it flooded a little bit, the cities nearby that are on the river, and it was just pouring down rain. So it's October 1st, it's pouring down rain, and so we decided to go to Carino's for dinner, for our dinner date. Turns out that the rest of our high school decided to go to Carino's as well, so it was like really packed in there. And so we walked in and we had to wait a while to be seated, and so we're just standing waiting to be seated, and we were like just barely in the doorway, and I was like, I'm cold. And so Ben's like, oh, you're cold, so he put his jacket around me and like put his arm around me, and I put my arm around back and like squeezed him and leaned my head against him, of course. And that's the moment he said he fell for me. I had already fallen for him, but that's once I did that, he was like, maybe it is worth it to invest in a relationship with this person. So it's funny because I was like not exactly his type, but he fell for me. So we got seated away from like everybody else. It was a table of 6, and so it was me and him and then like 2 other couples, and it was really funny because they were like super awkward. When the waiter's like, do you want soup or salad, like the woman just like agreed with whatever the guy got. So they got to us, they're like, do you want soup or salad? And Ben was like, I want salad. And I was like, I want soup. And so it was really funny. We were the only couple that got different things. I wasn't going to just agree with everything that he said, and I guess he liked that about me or something. Maybe I'm making that up, I don't know, but and this is the most embarrassing part, okay? I do not remember actually doing this, but I know I did it, and he brought it up to me, and I'm just like, want to die of embarrassment. He brought this up to me after we were married. I turned to him, and I said, Benjamin, last name, I'm going to marry you someday, and we're going to have 10 kids. I'm so embarrassed that I said that. Like, how embarrassing. What a bad impression to make on your first day. I was really socially awkward. And so he just like sighed and looked out the window at all the cars going by. And I'm still so embarrassed that I said that. I'm like blushing right now and just like, no, why did I say that? He had to teach me some social skills that I didn't inherently pick up. So anyway, we went to the dance. It was as awkward as high school dances are. Slow dancing was just hug and walk in a circle. And he was really annoyed that I didn't know how to dance. And I was like, of course I don't know how to dance. He knew how to dance because he, like, took this church dance lesson thing. And so he knew how to dance, but I didn't because I wasn't in any church at that point. So I didn't have that experience that he did. And so he was annoyed that I didn't know how to dance, of course. And we spent most of the night, I just was like holding his hand. I was like, I'm holding Ben's hand. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Ugh. And then we left. Of course, we weren't going to stay. We weren't doing anything. So, a guy, like a band member and his sister, who was also in band, drove us to his house. Or somebody drove us to this guy's house that was in band. And drove a couple other couples as well. And they were all the same religion. So they all had curfews. So we were hanging out at his house, and then there was a guy that drove a big car that seated like 7 people. And so he took home, there wasn't enough room in his car for like all of us that were at his house, so he took home the people that had curfews first, which I didn't. And Ben's parents probably didn't care. So, because they knew he didn't have a car, so he wasn't going to come home until like he could get a ride home. So this other guy in band, was taking people home from this guy's house. And we were watching Mulan, and all these people were quoting line for line. I had not seen Mulan before, really, so I was watching it, and I was like, cool, this movie's cool, I guess. And me and Ben just sat on the couch and like held hands, and like our chemistry just... And so then the guy came back to take us home, and whoever else was left. So, when they dropped me off, Ben got out and, like, gave me a huge hug, and I was just like, this is awesome. Oh, man, I had a great time. We didn't kiss. And I went into the house. I woke up my parents and said, hey, I'm home, like, because, you know, good girl does that. And then I went to bed, and I was just like, oh, my gosh, like, that was the best date ever. I wonder if we're actually going to date. I'm not going to count on it. I'm going to relish this moment forever, because I had totally had a crush on this guy. So that was a Saturday. So the following Monday, I go to school. I see Ben, and I'm just like, so are we dating? Are we an item? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. And so we started dating, and it was a huge surprise, really, to everybody because we were so different. We were in completely different social circles. I didn't really have a social circle, but we were so different. And his best friend actually hated me because I took Ben away from him. But and then one day I remember Ben sat down and he's just like, you need to stop doing this, this, and this, and this. It's really bad social etiquette or whatever. And I didn't feel bad because I was just like, oh, I had no idea. Just little inept things, that you just learn as you go to school. So I learned a lot about social etiquette that year when I started dating him. So we started dating October 1st, '05, which was the homecoming dance. And then we dated like all through his senior year and my junior year. And then he graduated from high school, and I was, of course, a year behind him. So I was a senior, and he was working. He didn't go to school. He was saving up for his mission, which he ended up not going on for like a year and a half after when he like could have left. So he worked. Like that's all he did. He worked all day to get money, and he was like loving having money for the first time that he could just spend on stuff. Like he'd never had that before. Coming from a family of 11 people, he didn't have a whole lot of money to spend, and so now he was very excited with his monetary freedom. So, and he's really good with money. He always has been. But he bought like a scimitar and crap like that he just loved. So he worked, and I went to school. So people were like, "Do you really have a boyfriend?" I was like, "Yes, I do." He just doesn't like you guys. He's not super social, so he like I didn't see him like around my other friends really, but we still hung out all the time, like every day we'd hang out. And then I graduated from high school and I went to college, and we still saw each other like every day. It was really hard. It was really frustrating at times, but we made it work. And then he left on his mission when I was in '09, April of '09, so I would have been, I think, I was a sophomore in college when that happened. So yeah, so my freshman year of college, we dated. I had to drive to see him every day. And then my sophomore year of college, a bunch of crap happened in my life that I'm not going to talk about here, but he left on his mission in April of '09. And he went to Chicago, the Chicago area. Like he went to the top half of Illinois. And I missed him so much. And I decided to wait for him. Like some people don't wait, but I wanted to wait for him. And because of my social awkwardness, it was not hard for me to like not fall for somebody else. So I waited for him when he was on his mission for 2 years. So I was in school, and people were like, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I was like, "Yes, I do." And they're like, "I don't believe you. He never comes." And I was like, "Yeah, I know," because he didn't like visiting the campus I was at. He didn't like it, and he just like didn't want to go to any of my concerts and stuff, which I didn't care. I wasn't offended. So no one ever knew him or met him. So they like, there was this joke that I was just kidding about my boyfriend, but that wasn't true. So he came back in April of 2011. And I was so excited for him to come back, and I wasn't sure if we were going to keep dating or not. I was hopeful we were. So I was so excited to see him. I cried. I was so happy to see him, and we decided to keep dating. And then that August-ish of 2011, we decided to talk about getting married. He said he didn't want to get engaged until he moved out of his parents' house and got his own place. But he ended up proposing to me before that anyway, so it was a little bit of a surprise when he proposed. So he proposed to me on Christmas of 2011. There is a video of that on YouTube. I will post it in the comments, in the description. So of that and of what he did, but I knew he was gonna do it because he was like, "You're gonna like your Christmas present," and I was like, "He's gonna propose," and then he filmed it, so I was like, he's gonna propose, and it was like 10 things I love about you, little pun like presents that he got at the dollar stores, wrapped gifts, and the last present was a ring. It was a fake ring, and so he did that, and he taped it, and so I have it, and then so that was 2011. So I got proposed. I got engaged in the back of his crappy Saturn in a church parking lot. So then we decided to get married after I graduated from college. I took 5 years to graduate college because I had really nasty depression during my sophomore and junior year, and so I was part-time my junior year. So what should have been my senior year was really my second junior year. I finally got over my depression. It wasn't one that was permanent, thankfully, but it lasted like a year. It really sucked. I have a lot of sympathy for people that suffer from depression because I did, but I was able to get through it and like get above it on without taking anything or seeing anybody for it. So so that was a good thing. But I totally forgot where I was going with that. But anyway, we wanted me to be out. We wanted me to be graduated from college before we got married. And he looked for an apartment. We found one, our very first apartment we looked at. We were like, that's the one. It was perfect. It was in a perfect location. It was on the ground floor. It was just perfect. So we snatched it up in a heartbeat. Didn't even look at other apartments. And it was really good. My cat lived with us. He hated it, but that's okay. So he got that apartment in like May of 2012. And then we set the date for June 2nd, 2012. And so it was like so we were, I was out of college. And he went back to working. He didn't go to college yet because he wanted to work, because he would have had to work for his college. And so we got married on June 2nd, 2012, and it was really nice. I did not have a big wedding at all. It was just like the two of us got married. And then like his family put on a reception that was like totally free. And like all the church people came and all the church ladies and stuff helped make everything for that, so it was really nice. And our honeymoon was on the Oregon coast because my grandma has a beach house, so she let us rent it for free, like she paid for it. So that was really nice. And then you know the rest of the story, like how I got pregnant 3 times and all that. But yeah, that's how Benjamin and I met and fell in love and got married. And now we have our daughter Molly, who woke up from her nap. She's in her bouncer. I'm bouncing her. That's what the clicking sound is. And yeah, we have our first daughter. I don't know if I'm going to have 10 kids anymore, but I definitely want at least 5. I want 2 of each. Like, everyone knows that. So I'm really excited to get started on baby number 2. But yeah, I found the perfect guy, and I didn't have to look very hard. It was just everything lined up. It was just like, no way to ever think that would happen. All from that dorky guy with the glasses that he rocked those glasses. So there's how we met and got engaged and got married and all that stuff. So if you have any more questions about that, I'm sure once people start watching my videos, they'll have more questions, and I will answer them to the best of my desire to. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.